Thanks very much, Odur, and thank you, Bala, for doing this every year, and now for the 10th year. And to me, Startup Iceland has been a very important touch point in my journey as a founder. This is where I came and met people like Steppi, who was here earlier. This is where I met two of my investors as well. So I'm celebrating you. So this venue has been really to celebrate new founders. This is why I love Startup Iceland. And this is why we are celebrating today as founders. So I'm very happy to have the opportunity to be here and share my story. And I hope that my story becomes a little baggage into your own founding stories later on. Just to get my bearings right, how many of you have already started your businesses, or how many have aspirations of doing so in the next 10 years? So awesome. So this is for you guys. I will tell you about Indó. I will try to wrap it into the backstory, the founder story, which is behind it. So let's just kind of, dig in. My name is Tryggvi. I'm a co-founder at Indó. Again, tiny savings banks, which is making a huge impact. So we are a savings bank that's built to meet the everyday banking needs of busy homes and small families. I'm not expecting any mic drop here. I'm not expecting any jaw kind of falling to the ground, because this is pretty basic stuff. And we just came out of the AI section, so I'm kind of possibly underwhelming at this point, but let's dig in. Part of the reason could also be that this is sort of what comes to mind. Grayscale pictures, men, women in thick raincoats wearing hats, small fjords, high mountains, small boats. And Thomas Soega, who is a legendary savings banking director, running a tight ship and knowing everyone in the community and probably everything about everyone in the community as well. So why did myself and my co-founder, Haukur, believe that a 19th century banking model had any purpose in the 21st century? So let's kind of dig into that. We know a thing about banking. I've done my fair share of banking domestically and internationally, and I'd been a part of a universal banking group, a universal bank, and I knew that model wasn't quite right. And we talked a lot about ratios and models. We hardly spoke about clients and their needs. We did look at, so we knew the model wasn't quite right, but we were worried that it would influence, our view was influenced by our own personal experience of having gone through mother of all banking crises a few years back. So we did look at international surveys, and we saw that people's trust towards banking had been on a gradual and steep decline over the past 2 decades. And it wasn't changing. Banks were throwing billions at the problem, and it just didn't change. They throw billions at tech, and that didn't have any impact. They threw millions into branding, and that didn't deliver any impact in terms of changing that trust trend. So we knew there was a big problem. We thought, well, somebody must be doing something about this. And we did look across the pond. And we realized that banks, neobanks in Europe, they were building great UX, so interfaces to customers. Truly inspiring, awesome UXs. Okay, that's good. But we didn't feel like, is this really solving the trust problem? We weren't not convinced. We saw new neobanks throwing new brands in, really aligning their values with their customers. And we thought, well, this is awesome, but is this again is the banking problem a branding problem? But we thought, well, no, we think it's deeper. It's much, much deeper. And we knew we had a problem, and as any founder, you think, okay, there's a problem, let's solve it. But we didn't quite know what's needed in order to save this problem. And in comes the government of Iceland. They conducted the single most extensive survey on the financial sector 10 years from the banking crisis. And it's an amazing survey. It's a white book about the future of the financial system. For any banking enthusiast, I encourage you to read it. If not, skip it. But they had a wonderful question, which is basically describe the banks that you have in one word, and that's on the left-hand side. and then describe the bank that you would like to be in business with in one word. And that's on the left-hand side. And I've translated that for our friends from the US, and that's fair. I would like to do business with a fair bank. So we knew we had to build a fair bank. That can't be so difficult. Well, in many ways, it's quite challenging to build a bank that's fair because fairness is a perception. And in order to be perceived as fair, we decided we need to be very simple, transparent, and let's be fun too. Why simple? Well, simple, it means you can explain what you're doing quite easily. It's simple to operate, but really what simple means, it's very low cost. And if you're low cost, there's a lot of value that you can redistribute with your customers in a different way. That's a key. Transparency. Be transparent. Actually, transparency is very empowering to the customers, and that's very powerful. Transparency is also a lot of discipline for ourselves because banking is amazing. There's so much revenue to be made, and if you're not transparent, well, you start kind of trickling into those revenue streams. So transparency is really the disciplines that keeps us on the simplicity track and the low cost. Fun, well, banking is fun. In the beginning, we thought, okay, let's not be boring, but then we said, like, let's take it all the way and be fun. Why? Well, you would like to do business with a simple and transparent bank, but would you actually stay in business with a bank that's kind of simple and transparent? Well, if we add a little bit spice to it and make it fun, then we're actually changing banking and making you an active customer with us. So again, not rocket science. When I went through these cornerstones with a colleague, he basically said, oh, so banks should be low cost. Yep. They should be able to explain their impact into the society. Yep. And they should not kind of be dicks with their customers. Yep. Oh, so you mean like banking systems should be just like any other industry in the world? Yep. Simple as that. So we knew that we wanted to build a bank that's fair, simple, transparent, and fun. How difficult can that be? So I'm actually summarizing this into, I normally don't do this, but this is a founder talk. So we're going to go into the valley of death. And this is our valley of death. This is normally how we present it to people. So we founded Indó in October 2018 by an amazing stroke of magic. We had an amazing team of engineers joining us shortly afterwards, aligning their values and their technical visions with our banking vision. And then we got the model wrong, the story wrong. We were hit by a pandemic. We ran out of money. And then we had to re-rack. We went back to basic. We found the right investors, the right story, the right model, and we got a banking license almost 4 years after beginning the journey. The banking license in February. We connected core systems. In May, we had a July principal license with Visa. We started onboarding customers. We got Apple Pay in January, and then we hit the market hard. We opened up our first product, which is a salary account. It was just followed by a savings account, which we announced 2 days back. It's been a huge success. We are going through a massive scale-up, and it's amazing to see how technology scales, and it's amazing to see how customer support and operations don't scale. We are then now we're working on the loan side. So if I wrap things up, we meet the fundamental needs of using your money, and that's our bridge to you as a customer. And then we meet the other needs of allowing you to store your money. And then we use that money to unlend to other customers. And that creates a circle, a positive circle for our core product, which is our current product. So this is normally how we talk about things, but when I think of our founding journey, it's more like this. We started this is my garage, top left. This is where Haukur and I spent most of our time. When we got our first funding, we rented this office, which is kind of on the left-hand side. Felt like an absolute king of the world, and that lazy boy has been basically the center of many interesting conversations, including with Bala, who I'm very thankful for. Our first banking license application was submitted on this Star Wars figure, and the FSA kind of went, really, guys? You know, can we make this a little bit more professional? But it has to be fun. And then kind of here's our amazing team of engineers. Really just kind of great emotions, and surely the best time of my professional career. So this is what we built. Indó has its own banking license. We have our own Visa Principal membership. We've built a cloud-native service layer, which encapsulates the existing financial infrastructure and connects to suppliers in a standard way, so we can swap them out easily. On top of that, we have built a user-driven UX, and we wrap that into great marketing, and this is Indó, simple, transparent, and fun. And if we step back, what's Indó? It's basically the lowest cost producer of banking services there is. After my decades of experience of banking, I cannot imagine a more lower cost of producing banking services. We create banking services at a fraction of the cost of what the incumbents are doing. It's a great user experience because when you have this scalable API platform, you can really go fast on driving new, engaging UX on top of that. And it's a lot of fun. We basically changed our app from A to Z in less than 3 months, from designing the app and then kind of rolling out again. Why? Because the user feedback that we got on the old app wasn't great. It wasn't different enough. And then we tend to get marketing right. Why? Because we have a community of thousands of people who give us feedback, and we actually listen to them. It's not rocket science. I think Stebbi was earlier mentioning, kind of imagine how much faster you could go if you don't have these legacy systems making you cumbersome and slow. This is how fast it can be. And just kind of circling into that, what I found kind of amazing is that when I speak to bank managers, CEOs, and etc., and look at surveys, they seem to be very busy about cybersecurity, AI, machine learning. And they don't really think about that crazy infrastructure that is sitting on top of it and rationalizing that. All right, okay. This is our vision, no bullshit banking. We are changing the banking system for the better, so there's more for people and their families and less for the banks. Not nothing, but less. We hit the market in February. We got the core banking systems operational in May. We had the principal license in July. Many interesting conversation with the Visa department about the design of our new Visa card. In the end, they gave up. And if you have our card, there's a small pigeon on the back of it. That's the only thing that they kept from so you need to be persistent as a founder. When we opened Indó up, as founders, it's a very sort of humbling experience because what you have built has never been tried by anyone else except yourselves and your co-echo chamber. So we brought the first users in, and some of them even did some breakdancing because they were so excited to be able to do banking with a new entity which had different values to it. Some brought their dogs, but this is really the touch point that we had in order to tell our story. And we spent time with every single Indóer who came in and told him or her our story. And that sort of creates a little acorn in the community. We got the Apple Pay in January. We hit the market, and with our current account product, again, this is the app that we totally revamped and redesigned in less than 3 months. And we hit them with, dropped a new brand. We knew we had to stand out like a flaming pink flamingo in the municipal pond among the bread-eating swans and ducks. We basically kind of showed our competitors we don't give a flying. If you think we belong in this market or not, we are here, and all we think about are our Indóers, our tribe. Even though what we're doing is that serious, and our mission is that serious, we don't have to take ourselves too seriously either. Speaking of which, this is the team. I think there we are 13 or 14. We've now grown to 16, 17. Very diverse group of amazing people, different backgrounds, different values, but we're all aligned by the single mission of changing banking for the better. But we're not alone. Again, there's a wave out there. There's a growing community which is basically intolerant towards the incumbent and saying, why can't you be more like Indó? Why am I paying this fee? And they're making their choices by joining Indó or giving the incumbents a lot of hassle, which I think is great as well, because that will allow us to change the banking sector for the better. So where are we now? We are actually at 26,500 customers today, which is about 8% market share out of the total number of customers, aged 18 or above. But what really counts is kind of how many of them are truly active. And when we look at debit card transactions, we are closing this month with around 380,000 debit card transactions, which gives us about 5 out of every 100 debit card transactions are done with an Indó debit card. And that's 4 months from launching. The NPS score, which is the Net Promoter Score, is 72. It basically says that our community is telling others about Indó and creating new Indós as a result. And here's what came to me. 42 is obviously an amazing number, but that's also the average age of our users. And I seriously thought we would be hitting, 25 years old, but we're actually kind of up there. And yesterday I had a chat with Indó, who is 94-year-old, and he was so excited to be joining Indó. So I think that's a little nugget to founders. You really don't know what you have in your hands until you really go out there and figure out where the product market fit is. And what we found out is age doesn't tell anything about the fit. Mentality is more important. We have 8,500 in the community now, and if the other banks will follow suit and match our pricing schedule, then we deliver $100 million into Iceland that will be left in people's pockets as opposed to in the banking pockets. And that's the impact that we're after. This is more than 3 times the annual donation to Rannis, the Tækniþróunarsjóður one. This is half of what we're spending per year in building a new hospital. So this is meaningful. We've won multiple awards, including the best app. So banking has a new face. When you come to us as a customer, this is how we meet you. We are regular people doing amazing things. But out there, all we care about is our customers, and the new face is pink flurry, bad hair day, and a lot of attitude. And to wrap things up, I think, I was here some years ago, and I listened to these amazing startups earlier on. It was great to hear their pitches, and Oddur actually said, Icelanders are getting better at pitching. So we are now going to see my pitch when I was on this stage 4 years ago doing that 90-second pitch. Thank you. Thank you. And apologies beforehand if there's a hippopotamus farting across the seam in a second. But here's my pitch. My name is Tryggvi, and I'm a co-founder at Indó. And here's another question. Why are banks boring? And here's a twist to that one. Why is banking boring? It is possible, given that I worked in a bank since the late last century, that I may be a little bit influenced. But, banks are fascinating in many ways. Few, if any, companies will have more regular interaction with their clients than banks. And yet, we as clients, we're not really having a great time, are we? Few companies will have better qualified staff than banks, and yet these people aren't really loving their jobs. There is a crack somewhere, and can this be different? Shouldn't banking be about you, your money, your income, your spending? Shouldn't banking be interactive and fun? Can banks be 100% safe? And I'm not talking about CRD4, Basel 1, 2, 3 pillars, or LCR type of safe. I'm just talking plain and simple safe. Can banking be transparent and simple? Simple like, I know where my money is and I understand what the bank is doing with my money. Can banking be a little bit more like a regular service provided by people that are a little bit more ordinary? Can small, passionate, entrepreneurial, innovative teams using modern technology replace complex, stagnated, expensive banking systems? Many people believe that the current traditional banking model is under pressure, and some believe it will disintegrate. And what does the world look like? How will the bank system reintegrate? We are a team of highly talented and motivated and successful software engineers and not so successful bankers. And these questions are the questions that we are dealing with. Indó is creating a new banking model, and we will be the first challenger bank from Iceland. And our promise to you is that we will never be boring.